my past life, my mom caused my CEO dad's car accident and death. My maternal grandparents went bankrupt and committed suicide. And my uncle Kyle was framed and sent to prison. Reborn, they all returned to get revenge on my mom. Dad stared at mom's slightly rounded belly, his eyes dark. Chloe, are you trying to trick me with a fake pregnancy again? This life, I'll never believe you. The next second, he unexpectedly heard my inner voice. Fake pregnancy? Does daddy think I don't exist? I'm here. Daddy, you're so handsome. You look super strong. You can definitely protect mommy and me. My CEO dad froze, startled. Kyle sneered from the side. Chloe deliberately claims pregnancy to gain our pity, then she'll start plotting to harm us. This time, I'll make her life a living hell. Mom looked at them, confused, while I kicked my feet around inside her belly. Uncle, my mommy isn't lying, okay? When I'm born, Uncle will lift me up high and spin me around. Everyone stared at Mom's slightly bulging belly, suddenly falling silent. Didn't Vivian say Chloe was faking her pregnancy? So, who was this little one having a concert in there? Under the cold hospital lights, the entire family's gazes were glued to Mom's slightly rounded belly. I shyly curled up, rolling halfway in the warm womb. Oh no, so many people are staring at baby. I'm shy. Dad and Kyle's bodies subtly jolted at the same time. Grandpa Richard and Grandma Eleanor also exchanged surprised glances. They had all clearly heard that sweet, baby-like complaint. Vivian, oblivious, only found their sudden, more eerie silence strange. The dagger in Dad's hand clattered to the floor. He stared intensely at Mom's belly, his expression shifting from dark to utterly bewildered and uncertain. Mom looked up at him, asking confusedly, "What fake pregnancy? Honey, are you too excited to be a dad?" And Mom, Dad, Kyle, why do you all look so upset? Aren't you happy I'm pregnant? No one present paid attention to Mom's confusion. Their eyes were filled with deep resentment. "Doctor!" Dad suddenly yelled towards the door. "Arrange a full prenatal checkup for her immediately." Vivian, the fake sister, quickly grabbed Dad's sleeve, her voice laced with urgency. "Ethan, in the past life, didn't you personally see her big belly was just a pillow? And the private doctor I hired explicitly said she wasn't pregnant. Why check again?" Hearing that, my tiny foot lightly kicked the uterine wall. That bad woman is lying again. In the past life, Mommy was pregnant with me, but a bad person pushed her down the stairs and she lost her baby. That's why she held a pillow every day and sang lullabies. I could only become a little ghost, wiping away Mommy's tears. My little hands ached from struggling for countless days to finally get this chance to be reborn and come back to Mommy's tummy. Thinking this, my nose stung, and I couldn't help but rub my cheek gently against the uterine wall, like a tiny kitten. "Mommy, don't be scared. This time, I'll definitely protect you. I'm excited to see this world. Excited to see Daddy and Mommy." "Shut up, everyone shut up." Dad suddenly covered his ears, his pupils constricting violently as he stared at Mom's abdomen. "Doctor, immediately now, a prenatal checkup." A flicker of panic crossed Vivian's eyes. Kyle couldn't help but frown either. During the examination, when the cool ultrasound gel touched Mom's belly, I wiggled curiously. "Wow, the chilly gel feels like jello. Is the doctor looking for me with that probe? I'm here. I'm here. Let Daddy see me." Dad unconsciously held his breath, staring intently at the screen. Kyle instinctively took a half step forward, and Grandpa Richard and Grandma Eleanor clenched their hands tightly. The ultrasound machine suddenly emitted a strong, rhythmic thumping sound. A tiny bean-like outline appeared on the screen, actively kicking its little legs. 14 weeks gestation. Fetal heartbeat is strong and normal, the doctor said, pushing up his glasses. "Ms. Chloe is indeed pregnant, and the baby is very healthy and active." The color drained from Vivian's face completely, and she quickly spoke. "Impossible. In the past life, you all saw it. She accused me of pushing her down the stairs, and after her miscarriage, it was a pillow that fell out. Ethan, you saw it with your own eyes. How could she really be pregnant?" The whole family was stunned, but what echoed in their minds was my earlier thought, was pushed down the stairs by a bad person, and lost her baby, especially Dad. Listening to my cheerful inner voice, and seeing the indeed existing tiny bean on the screen, his expression was incredibly complex. Vivian saw their expressions soften. She immediately put on that pitiful look, speaking softly and weakly. "Maybe we truly misunderstood Chloe in the past life. Perhaps she was really pregnant but miscarried accidentally, then had a breakdown and mistook the pillow for her baby. It's just, I can't understand how someone intellectually impaired and mentally unstable could be so cunning, capable of plotting against us and causing our deaths." Hearing this, Kyle immediately scoffed, his eyes filled with vigilance and hatred. "So what if she's not faking her pregnancy? It's an undeniable fact that Chloe ruined our family in the past life. And what kind of good could come from that vicious woman's belly? Probably just a little monster here to make our lives hell." "Wah, Uncle's mean. How can he call me a monster? I'm here to bring good fortune." I pouted aggrievedly, turning over unhappily in Mom's tummy. Kyle choked on his words at this sudden protest, and went silent. Mom seemed to sense something, gently stroking her belly. She looked at her family even more confusedly. "You're all so strange. Pregnancy, and you're talking about past lives?" No one had the mind to explain the past life to a beautiful, simple-minded woman with low intelligence. Vivian's eyes turned cold, but when she looked at Kyle, Richard, and Eleanor, her voice became sugary sweet. "Kyle, how can you speak of Chloe and her unborn child like that? Chloe doesn't know anything right now, and her intelligence is low. Perhaps the maliciousness from the past life." "Enough!" Dad abruptly cut her off, his voice sharp. He rubbed his temples, his mind filled with my thoughts of becoming a little ghost to wipe Mommy's tears, and struggled for countless days. A strange pang twisted in his chest. Even if she was bad, the child is innocent. Though his tone was still firm, the killing intent from before was clearly gone. Grandpa Richard also frowned, looking at his daughter's bewildered, innocent eyes and her bulging abdomen, speaking in a low voice. "Until things are completely clear, everyone, speak less." His gaze swept over Vivian, carrying a flicker of scrutiny. Grandma Eleanor looked at the little life on the screen, and a subtle softness also flashed in her eyes. Vivian felt a jolt of panic seeing them hesitate, but on her face, she managed to look even more wronged. "That's true. Maybe this time our family can have a good ending." At her words, the various events of the past life seemed to replay before everyone's eyes, preventing them from letting down their guard or their hatred. Vivian saw that she had achieved her desired effect, and immediately looked at Mom provocatively. "Chloe, everyone cares about you so much. You really must keep this baby safe." Mom completely missed the malice in her words, returning a bright, silly smile and nodding vigorously. Thank you, Vivian, for your concern. Baby and I will do our best." Vivian choked at her pure reaction, almost failing to maintain her expression. Back at the family estate, the atmosphere remained heavy. Though Dad no longer mentioned tormenting Mom, his gaze was still cold. Grandpa Richard and Grandma Eleanor were silent, and Kyle had moved to the guest house furthest from the main residence, adopting an out-of-sight, out-of-mind attitude. Yet, in his ears, he still seemed to hear Uncle's mean. It was the weekend family dinner. A critical bidding document from Grandpa Richard's study had vanished without a trace. Search! Search everywhere!" Grandpa Richard roared, his face ashen with fury. Naturally, only family members knew where that document was kept. All suspicious glances instantly focused on Mom. After all, in the past life, it was Mom who had leaked company secrets. Vivian, supporting Grandpa Richard, appeared worried, but every word was carefully manipulative. Chloe, you're the only one who entered Dad's study these past few days. I know your memory isn't great during pregnancy, but the document is very important. Can you please try to remember where you put it? Mom looked bewildered, trying hard to recall. I did go into the study to bring Dad ginseng tea, but I didn't touch any documents. Ah, that bad woman wants Mom to take the fall again. That bad woman clearly snuck into the study last night herself, took Grandpa's document and hid it under the rug. I saw it all. You want to frame Mommy again, you bad person. I was so furious I kicked and thrashed inside Mom's belly. Dad, Kyle, Grandpa Richard, and Grandma Eleanor's faces all changed simultaneously. Their gazes shot towards the rug in the corner of the study. There, indeed, was a small, barely noticeable bulge. Vivian noticed his stare, her face changing abruptly. She instinctively moved her hand to block it. Dad's face was as dark as a storm cloud, his gaze icy as he stared at her. Get the document you hid under the rug. Out. Vivian flinched back. Ethan, I didn't get it out. Dad's tone brooked no argument. Finally, the lost document was found under the rug. The setup was undeniable, the evidence ironclad. Vivian's tears instantly welled up. Her shoulders trembled slightly. She looked utterly wronged. It was me who hid it. I'm sorry. I was just so scared. I was afraid Chloe would, like in the past life, leak such an important document and cause our family's bankruptcy, leading to a tragic life. I didn't know what to do. I just acted on impulse. I thought I'd hide it first and secretly put it back after the bidding ended. That way, it would be foolproof. Her excuse was riddled with holes, even a little foolish. However, seeing Vivian cry so heartbrokenly and hearing her mention the past life's tragedy, the strictness in Grandpa Richard and Grandma Eleanor's eyes softened slightly, replaced by a complex understanding, as if her foolish actions truly stemmed from love and fear for the family. Kyle immediately stepped forward, shielding her. Vivian was also thinking of the family. She just used the wrong method. Compared to someone who deliberately plotted to ruin our family and lives in the past, this small oversight is nothing. I lay in Mom's tummy, idly splashing my little feet in the amniotic fluid. Uncle, that bad woman wasn't unintentional at all. She deliberately framed Mom. If Dad hadn't helped Mommy this time, Mommy would have been accused of leaking information again, just like in the past. Silly uncle, I won't let you lift me up high anymore. Kyle's body stiffened abruptly, and the arm protecting Vivian seemed to freeze slightly, his mood heavy. Dad frowned, staring at the crying Vivian, not speaking immediately, but the suspicion in his eyes deepened. Over the next few days, similar minor incidents happened one after another. Whenever something bad occurred in the family, all evidence would point to my beautiful, slightly naive mom. Each time, as the entire family turned their accustomed hateful glances towards my bewildered and helpless mom, my clear and urgent inner voice would chime in at just the right moment, like a little detective, pointing out the crucial evidence. Initially, they remained skeptical, but every time they investigated according to the hints, they accurately found evidence proving Mom's innocence, time after time. Dad's gaze towards Mom was no longer the pure hatred it had been, but filled with incredible confusion. Grandpa Richard and Grandma Eleanor looked at Mom's consistently clear, slightly silly, innocent eyes. Comparing them to Vivian's feeble excuses after being exposed again and again, they fell into a prolonged silence. Even Kyle, the most unwavering in the face of repeated coincidences and evidence, gradually couldn't immediately jump to Vivian's defense. He just looked at Mom with a more complex and scrutinizing gaze. Could it be that the vicious woman, Chloe, who had ruined their family in the past life, was truly innocent? After a business gala, Dad and Kyle went to the parking lot to get their car, and Mom and Vivian followed. Suddenly, a dozen men armed with clubs and menacing expressions surrounded them from the shadows. Long time no see, Ethan. Kyle, the leader grinned maliciously. Finally caught you alone. This time, if I don't cripple you, I'll have lived for nothing. Oh, and you brought two pretty women along, huh? Perfect. Let's take them all. I was so anxious, I bounced around inside Mom's belly. This didn't happen in the past life. Why are there bad guys suddenly coming to bully Daddy and Uncle Kyle? Daddy and Uncle Kyle, you must be careful. Hearing my inner voice, Dad and Kyle's faces hardened simultaneously, and they quickly took a defensive stance, back to back. Dad looked at the lecherous leader, his face sinking. Watch your mouth. Say one more word, and I'll rip it off. Kyle's face was also incredibly grim. Vivian, Chloe, you two go first. Vivian's voice trembled. No, how can I leave you with so many people? We're family. Even with her low intelligence, Mom could tell it was dangerous. Protecting her belly, she blurted out, okay, I'll go first. With that, she actually turned and ran without hesitation. Her speed was unbelievable for a pregnant woman. Dad and Kyle, seeing her decisive abandonment and self-preservation, couldn't help but feel disheartened. The hatred for her that had recently wavered surged up again. Kyle scoffed, his tone full of sarcasm. Sure enough, in a crisis, she's not so dumb. Her selfish nature is exposed, just like in the past life, and we actually believed her again and again. Foolish for 2 lifetimes, huh? Dad's lips were pressed into a thin line, and though he said nothing, his eyes had grown much colder. Vivian, seeing Mom run off, had a flicker of surprise and triumph in her eyes, then switched back to a look of extreme worry. Kyle, Ethan, even if Chloe doesn't care about our lives, she's pregnant. With so many bad guys, I'm worried. I'm going to check on her. After saying that, she also quickly ran off, but instead of chasing Mom, she hailed a car, and smirking, she drove off. In the parking lot, Dad and Kyle stood back to back, surrounded by a dozen burly men with iron bars. Both were injured. Ethan's lip was split and bleeding, and Kyle's white shirt had blood seeping from the shoulder. The leader's eyes gleamed malevolently as he swung the cold iron bar. Brothers, they're exhausted. Let's get them. They're worth a fortune. Millions each. If we sell their organs separately, even more valuable. As the others prepared to charge again, Dad and Kyle's faces were grim. Just then, my inner voice was heard from the darkness. There's no signal here in the parking lot, but Mommy has already called the police, and she's also called Grandpa and Grandma. The police will be here soon. Daddy and Uncle Kyle, you must hold on. Mommy, you must protect yourself too. I'm so scared and worried. Then came Mom's scream. She rushed out of the parking lot, holding a thick wooden stick, sweating profusely. Stop it! No one gets to bully my family! Dad's eyes were wide with shock and horror. Kyle's ear was bleeding badly, and he couldn't hear a thing. Seeing Mom run back, his face twisted with scorn and hatred. You didn't care about sticking together a moment ago. Now you're back pretending? Chloe, are you here to watch us die? Are you happy to see us die again? Mom ignored Kyle's taunts. Seeing the group swinging their clubs at Kyle's head, she screamed, Kyle! Terrified, she rushed forward like a mad woman, throwing herself over him. The heavy iron bar struck her with brutal force. Mom screamed, and in front of Kyle, she collapsed softly to the ground. Bright red blood immediately gushed from between her legs, quickly staining her light-colored skirt. 2 voices, twisted with shock, simultaneously pierced the silent night. Chloe? Chloe?
Mom hit the ground hard, her body curling instinctively around her stomach. "No, baby," she whimpered, her trembling hands covering the spreading blood. Inside the womb, everything shook violently around me. "Mommy, don't leave me. Daddy, save Mommy." The desperate cry exploded in everyone's minds. Ethan's eyes turned bloodshot. "Chloe." Something inside him snapped. He grabbed the iron bar from the stunned attacker and swung with terrifying force. The thug crashed into two others, collapsing instantly. Kyle stared at the blood beneath Chloe. For a split second, another memory flashed before his eyes. A hospital room. A woman clutching a pillow. Tears streaming endlessly down her face. My baby, my baby." At the time, he thought she was insane. Now, his face went pale. What if she really had lost a child? What if they had all been wrong? The thought hit him like a truck. "Get away from her." Kyle roared and launched himself at the attackers. Sirens suddenly echoed through the parking garage. Police vehicles screeched to a halt. "Police, drop your weapons." The gang members immediately scattered in panic. Several were tackled before they could escape. The leader was slammed face first against the pavement. Everything became chaos. But Ethan didn't care. He was already on his knees beside Chloe. Her face was white. Too white. "Ethan," she whispered weakly. "I'm here." He grabbed her hand. "Stay awake." "I'm sorry." Her eyes filled with tears. "I wasn't trying to run away." The words stabbed straight into his heart. "I know. You know? I know." For the first time since his rebirth, Ethan answered without hesitation. "You went to get help." Chloe's eyes widened. Then she began crying. Not loud sobs. Just quiet tears. Because someone had finally believed her. An ambulance rushed her to the hospital. The entire family followed. Nobody spoke during the ride. Not even Vivian. Because for the first time since returning from the past, fear was visible on her face. At the hospital, the red emergency light remained on for what felt like forever. Inside the operating room, doctors worked frantically. Outside, Ethan paced nonstop. Kyle sat with his head in his hands. Richard and Eleanor looked 20 years older. Nobody noticed Vivian slowly backing toward the exit. Until a tiny voice suddenly sounded in their minds. "Bad woman is leaving." Everyone froze. "She wants to call someone. She doesn't want Mommy to wake up." Vivian stopped dead. Her face drained of color. Slowly, everyone turned toward her. Ethan's gaze was terrifying. "Who are you planning to call?" Vivian forced a smile. "I was just worried." "Your phone." His voice was ice. "Give it to me." Vivian's fingers tightened around the device. That tiny reaction was all Ethan needed. His heart sank. For the first time. He wondered whether the person they had trusted for 2 lifetimes was actually the one who had destroyed everything. And whether the woman lying unconscious behind those doors had been their victim all along. At that moment, the operating room light finally turned off. The doctor stepped out. Everyone rushed forward. "Doctor, how is she?" The doctor removed his mask. "The mother is safe." The entire family released a breath. But then the doctor smiled slightly. "And so is the baby." For a moment, nobody moved. Then a tiny cheerful voice rang out. "Yay! I told you. Baby is super strong. Mommy is super strong too." The family stood frozen. And for the first time since their rebirth, hope returned. The moment my excited voice echoed through everyone's minds, the suffocating tension in the hallway finally eased. Ethan closed his eyes. Safe. Both of them were safe. Only then did he realize his hands were shaking. Kyle leaned against the wall and laughed bitterly. "That little bean is tougher than all of us." "That's right." I puffed out my tiny chest proudly. "I'm strong. I'm Mommy's bodyguard." Several nurses glanced around in confusion as Ethan suddenly covered his mouth to hide a smile. Inside, however, his heart felt heavier than ever. Because if the baby had been telling the truth, then how many things had they gotten wrong? How many times had Chloe suffered because they believed someone else? Across the hallway, Vivian quietly lowered her head. Her nails dug into her palms. No, this couldn't continue. The baby was ruining everything. Every lie she had carefully built was falling apart. Just then, Ethan's phone rang. The caller ID made his expression darken. It was the police. "Mr. Hayes, we've finished questioning the gang members." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "What did they say?" "The leader claims someone paid them." The hallway fell silent. "Who?" There was a pause. "Vivian Hayes." Vivian's head snapped up. "What?" Everyone stared at her. The officer continued. "We found transfers from an account connected to Miss Vivian. We're still investigating, but the evidence is substantial." Vivian's face turned ghostly white. "That's impossible." Kyle stood up so fast his chair crashed backward. "What are they talking about? I didn't do anything." Tears instantly streamed down Vivian's face. "They're framing me." But this time, nobody rushed to comfort her. Nobody rushed to defend her. Not even Kyle. Because every time she had been exposed recently, she'd said the same thing. "I rolled around happily in the womb. Bad woman finally got caught. Daddy, check her room. Check the blue jewelry box." Everyone froze. Vivian's breathing stopped. Inside the blue jewelry box is Grandpa's missing company seal. And Mommy's necklace she said was stolen. Oh, and lots of papers. "I don't know what they say, but she looks at them every night." Richard's eyes widened. The company seal? That seal had disappeared before their bankruptcy in the previous life. Vivian immediately stumbled backward. "I don't know what that baby is talking about." But her panic only made her look guiltier. Ethan slowly turned toward the family bodyguards. "Go to her room." Vivian screamed. "No, too late." The guards were already gone. For 20 agonizing minutes, everyone waited. Then the guards returned carrying a blue jewelry box. The moment Vivian saw it, she nearly collapsed. Richard opened it himself. Inside sat the missing company seal, the stolen necklace, and dozens of documents. The old man's hands trembled. Among the papers was something else. A diary. Kyle frowned. "A diary?" Richard opened it. As he read, the color drained from his face. Eleanor grabbed the pages. Then she too began shaking. "What is it?" Ethan demanded. Neither grandparent answered immediately. Finally Richard looked up. His eyes were filled with horror. "It's a record. A record of everything." Kyle grabbed the diary. His expression changed with every page. False evidence. Manipulated witnesses. Staged incidents. Lies. Years and years of lies. And at the center of nearly every entry, Chloe. The hallway became deathly quiet. "No," Kyle whispered. "No, no, no." His legs gave out. He slid into a chair. The realization was unbearable. Every horrible thing they blamed Chloe for. Every punishment. Every cruel word. Every accusation. Vivian had orchestrated nearly all of it. Inside the maternity ward, Chloe slept peacefully, unaware. I gently rubbed against the uterine wall. "Mommy's finally going to be okay. Nobody's going to bully her anymore. Daddy's learning. Grandpa's learning. Even mean Uncle Kyle is learning." Kyle's eyes instantly filled with tears. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, he couldn't look toward Chloe's room. Because the guilt was crushing him. And deep down, he began to fear something even worse. If Chloe was innocent, then what really happened in their previous life? And who had truly destroyed their family? Kyle stared at the diary in his trembling hands. Page after page. Lie after lie. Every accusation against Chloe had been carefully planted. Every piece of evidence had been manufactured. Every misunderstanding had been encouraged. His vision blurred. His voice cracked. "I slapped her." The hallway fell silent. Ethan's body stiffened. Kyle lowered his head. "In our previous life, I slapped her when Grandpa's documents went missing." His fists clenched. She cried and tried to explain. Another memory surfaced. Chloe standing in the rain. Her eyes red. Repeatedly saying, "I didn't do it." And him turning away. Not believing a single word. A painful silence settled over everyone. Then Richard suddenly spoke. "Keep reading." Kyle swallowed hard and turned another page. His face became increasingly pale. There were records of stolen company funds. Records of bribed employees. Records of false reports submitted to the board, all signed with Vivian's initials. Then Ethan froze. One page had a date circled in red. The date of his fatal car accident in their previous life. His hands shook as he snatched the diary. Below the date was a single sentence. The brakes have been tampered with. Tomorrow, everything finally ends. The hallway exploded. What? Eleanor nearly collapsed. Richard grabbed the wall for support. Kyle stared in horror. No. That accident had been the event that started everything. Ethan's death. The company's collapse. The family's destruction. And Chloe becoming the target of everyone's hatred. But according to the diary, it hadn't been an accident at all. I gasped inside Mommy's tummy. Daddy knows now. The bad woman hurt Daddy. Daddy wasn't supposed to die. The babyish voice sounded heartbroken. Daddy worked so hard every day. He always came home late. Mommy cried for him every night after he died. Ethan's chest tightened painfully. For some reason, hearing that innocent voice hurt more than any weapon ever could. Outside the hospital room, a doctor stepped out. The patient is awake. Everyone immediately turned. Chloe was awake. Inside the room, Chloe sat propped up against pillows. She looked pale but was smiling. The moment she saw Ethan, her eyes brightened. Honey. As if nothing had happened. As if she hadn't nearly died protecting Kyle. Ethan froze. His throat tightened. Then Chloe looked around. Is Kyle okay? Kyle's eyes widened. You almost died. Chloe blinked. Oh. Then she smiled sheepishly. But your family. The simple answer shattered whatever defenses remained in Kyle's heart. Family. Even after everything. Even after years of mistreatment. Even after 2 lifetimes of blame. She had still protected him. Kyle suddenly covered his face. His shoulders shook. Everyone in the room stared. Because Kyle Hayes had never cried. Not once. Not even when Ethan died in their previous life. But now tears streamed through his fingers. I'm sorry. His voice broke. I'm sorry, Chloe. Chloe tilted her head. Confused. For what? That question only made him cry harder. Because she genuinely didn't know. She didn't remember the past life. She didn't remember all the cruel things they'd done to her. Only they remembered. Only they carried that guilt. Inside the womb, I wiggled happily. Uncle's crying. Mommy fixed Uncle. Mommy fixes everybody. The room fell quiet. Then Chloe suddenly frowned. Huh? Everyone immediately became nervous. What is it? Chloe placed a hand on her stomach. The baby had suddenly gone still. Very still. For the first time in months, no cheerful voice appeared. No little comments. No excited thoughts. Nothing. Ethan's face changed. Baby? Kyle straightened. Richard and Eleanor looked alarmed. The silence lasted several seconds. Then, a tiny, sleepy voice echoed weakly in everyone's minds. I'm tired. Everyone froze. The little voice yawned. Mommy got hurt protecting Uncle. Baby was scared. Very scared. A tiny sniffle followed. Can Mommy and Daddy hug? I want everyone to stop fighting. The room instantly became quiet. Even the adults felt their eyes sting. Because for all the mysteries, warnings, and revelations the little one had given them. At the end of the day, she was still just a baby. A baby who wanted her family together. And for the first time since their rebirth, everyone wanted the same thing. For several moments, nobody spoke. The only sounds in the hospital room were the steady beeping of monitors and Chloe gently rubbing her stomach. It's okay, baby, she whispered softly. Mommy's okay. Immediately, the little voice perked up. Really? Mommy isn't hurting anymore? Chloe smiled. A little. The baby instantly sounded outraged. Who hurt Mommy? I'll remember them forever. Kyle nearly choked. Even Ethan had to look away to hide a smile. A few hours later, after Chloe had fallen asleep again, the family gathered in a private hospital lounge. The diary lay on the table between them. No one wanted to touch it. Because every page revealed another piece of the nightmare. Richard finally broke the silence. We need to know the truth. Kyle nodded grimly. All of it. Ethan opened another section of the diary. The entries became stranger. more desperate, more obsessive. Vivian had written less about money and power and more about fear. Fear of Chloe. Fear of the baby. Fear of losing her place in the family. Then Eleanor suddenly gasped. "What is it?" She pointed at a page. The date was from several months before Ethan's fatal accident in their previous life. The entry read, "Chloe is pregnant. If that child is born, everything will belong to her. I can't allow it." The room went cold. Kyle's face turned white. Richard's hands trembled. Ethan couldn't breathe, because it perfectly matched what the baby had said. Mommy was pregnant before. Mommy lost her baby. A horrifying possibility began forming in everyone's minds. Eleanor's voice shook. The stairs. Nobody answered. Nobody wanted to. But everyone was thinking the same thing. Maybe Chloe hadn't miscarried by accident. Maybe someone had made it happen. At that moment, a police officer entered the room. "Mr. Hayes." Ethan stood immediately. The officer looked unusually serious. "We searched Miss Vivian's apartment. What did you find?" The officer placed a thick folder on the table. "A lot." The family exchanged uneasy glances. The officer opened the folder. Inside were photographs, financial records, old messages, bank transfers. Then he revealed the final item. A small USB drive. "We recovered deleted files." Ethan frowned. "What kind of files?" The officer hesitated. "Security footage." The room fell silent. "From the day Chloe fell down the stairs in your previous residence." Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The officer continued quietly. "The footage appears to show Miss Vivian approaching Chloe from behind." Richard's chair scraped violently across the floor as he stood. "No." The officer's expression remained grim. "We're still verifying everything, but from what we've seen." He paused. "It doesn't appear to have been an accident." The room exploded. Eleanor burst into tears. Kyle stumbled backward. Ethan's fist slammed into the table so hard that it cracked. All this time. All these years. All this hatred. And the woman they blamed had been the victim. Meanwhile, completely unaware of the chaos outside, Chloe slept peacefully. Inside her womb, I floated lazily. Mommy's warm. Daddy's nearby. Everything feels nice. Then I suddenly froze. Wait. Something's wrong. Very wrong. Far away, I felt a strange cold feeling. A memory. Not my memory. Someone else's. The sensation made me shiver. Bad woman. She's smiling. But she's supposed to be with the police. Why is she smiling? Why does she look happy? The feeling grew stronger. And then the little voice echoed urgently through every family member's mind. Daddy. Grandpa. Something's wrong. The bad woman isn't finished yet. She's planning something. Everyone in the lounge instantly shot to their feet. Everyone rushed out of the lounge. At the police station, Vivian sat quietly in an interrogation room. Too quietly. When investigators searched her belongings again, they discovered why. She had prepared backup plans, hidden accounts, fake identities, and evidence she intended to release to frame Chloe one final time if she was ever exposed. But this time it was too late. The proof against her was overwhelming. One by one, former employees, investigators, and witnesses came forward. The entire truth emerged. In both lives, Vivian had manipulated nearly everything. She had stolen company secrets. She had framed Chloe repeatedly. She had arranged the attack on Ethan. And she had been responsible for the fall that caused Chloe's first miscarriage. When the evidence was presented, even Vivian stopped denying it. She simply laughed. A cold, bitter laugh. You all loved her more. The family stared at her in disbelief. After all the crimes, that was her reason. Jealousy, envy, hatred. Weeks later, Vivian was arrested and formally charged. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, the Hayes family was free of her schemes. Back at the estate, things slowly changed. Richard and Eleanor apologized to Chloe. Again and again. Chloe didn't fully understand why everyone was crying so much, but she hugged them anyway. Kyle changed the most. He became absurdly protective. Whenever Chloe carried anything heavier than a teacup, he would appear. Put that down. I'm carrying it. Whenever she walked near stairs. Slow down. Whenever she sneezed. Doctor. Mommy, Uncle's weird. Very weird. The entire family secretly agreed. Ethan changed too. He stopped working late. He came home early. He attended every appointment. He read parenting books. Lots of parenting books. Daddy reads baby books upside down sometimes. Ethan immediately hid the book. Kyle laughed for 10 straight minutes. Months passed. Then finally, labor began. The entire family panicked. Except Chloe, who was mostly excited. Several chaotic hours later, a baby's cry echoed through the hospital. A healthy baby girl. The doctor smiled. Ethan looked down at the tiny bundle in his arms. Big bright eyes. Tiny nose. Tiny hands. And immediately, Daddy. The familiar voice exploded into everyone's minds. I made it. The delivery room erupted. Richard cried. Eleanor cried. Kyle cried. Ethan cried. Mommy cried because everyone else was crying. The baby blinked. Why is everybody leaking? Years later, the little girl became the treasure of the entire family. She was spoiled beyond reason. Richard gave her company stocks. Eleanor baked for her daily. Kyle carried her everywhere. Ethan practically worshipped her. And Chloe loved her with her whole heart. One afternoon, sitting in Ethan's lap, the little girl suddenly smiled. This family finally got their happy ending. This time, nobody died. Nobody was framed. Nobody was left behind. And for the first time in 2 lifetimes, everyone lived happily ever after. Red Heart.